This is higher homework, it's Unit 2 extension work, and we're going to be looking at question 13 and it's on polynomials. So what I'll do here is in this clip I'll do 13a and b, next clip after that c and d, and then e and f. And as usual, if you look at the questions here and you know how to do them, try them out and you can see the solutions once I've completed them. Okay then, so let's go ahead with this one here. So what we've got is we've got a polynomial here, x is equal to minus 1 as a root of the polynomial. I've got a missing value here, find k, factorise fully and solve by finding all the roots. So it's going to be a synthetic division question. So I'll just set up synthetic division with x equals minus 1 as the root will appear there. I'll take the 1 for the coefficients from the top here, minus 4 for x, and I've got k that's sitting there, okay? So from there what I'll do is I'll bring down, just do the synthetic division, the 1 comes down to here, multiply by the minus 1, give me minus 1, gather them together, 0, minus 1 times 0 gives me 0, minus 4 times 1 will give me a 4, and then here what I'm going to do is I'm going to gather these two together, so it's going to be 4 plus k. Okay, so I know that that's going to be equal to 0, and that's the remainder, and the reason for that is that already started with x equals minus 1 is a root. Okay, if that's a root, I know that x plus 1 is a factor. Right, let's solve this part here. So I know that 4 plus k equals 0, so k is going to be equal to minus 4. Right, go ahead and we'll write down the full polynomial. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to replace the k with the minus 4, then I'm going to open up by putting in the factors. So I'll get x plus 1. In here what I've got is the quotient. I'll just lift down the quotient and put it here. I started off with x cubed, so that's going to be 1x squared. So that's going to be an x squared, no x's, and I've got a minus 4 sitting there. And remember that there all equals 0, doesn't it? Right, from there what I'll do is with the factors, I'm going to factorise this one out here, so that's the difference of squares. What I'll have there will be, I've got x and x, I'll have 2 and 2, one's a minus, one's a plus. From there what I'll do is I'll find out the roots by completing the question. So x plus 1 equals 0, so I've got x is equal to minus 1 is my first root. I've got x minus 2 equals 0, so x is equal to 2, and from here x plus 2 equals 0, so x equals minus 2. And that's my roots. Okay, let's see how we're going to mark this. I'm going to give 1 mark for setting up the synthetic division. Okay, I'll give the next mark for 4 plus k equaling 0, so setting that to 0, and also that mark would be for working out the value of k, which is minus 4, but I need to see the 0 and the k is equal to minus 4. 1 mark for getting the quotient into that form there, final mark for getting all 3 roots. So that question there is going to be out of 4 marks. Right, you can freeze the clip and try this question here. I'm just going to do the solution now. So if x minus 1 is a factor, I know that x is equal to 1 is going to be equal to a root. So for the root, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that outside the synthetic division work for this polynomial work here. I've got x cubed to start with, and it's 1x cubed, so that'll be a 1 there, minus 4x squared, so minus 4, plus 5, and I've got a missing value k. So I've got no missing coefficients in here, so the thing is I can just set it out straight like this here. Bring down the 1, multiply 1 times 1 gives me the 1, gather these together, minus 3, multiply it again up to here, gather them together, gives me 2, a 2 comes up to there because 1 times 2 is 2, and finally what I've got is 2 plus k at the end here. So that then equals 0, which is the remainder, and I know that's the case since I started off with the x minus 1 being a factor. Okay. Right, from there I'm going to put it into the factorised form. First of all, what I'll do is I'll find out the value of k. Okay, so 2 plus k equals 0. So here I've got k is equal to minus 2. Okay. So x cubed minus 4x squared plus 5x, and I'll replace k with the minus 2. So it'll be minus 2 is going to be equal to, and I'll get the factorised form in. So I'll get x minus 1 being the first one. That was the one I was given. Then what I'm doing is I'm taking the quotient from here. So I started off with x cubed, so the first one there will be 1x squared. So I'll get x squared sitting here, minus 3x, and I've got plus 2. That all equals 0. Looking at the factors, I'm going to have to factorise this trinomial out here. So I've got x here, 2 and 1. Both these numbers here must be both positive or both negative to get that sign. If that's a negative, they must both be negative. So there's the factorised form that I've got here. What I'll do now is I'll work out my roots. So x equals 1. Okay, here this is going to be exact same. X minus 1 equals 0, so x equals 1. And here I've got an x equals 2 coming out there. So what I've got here is just x equals 1 and x equals 2. There's my roots. Okay, let's see the marking for this one. Again, what we'll do is we'll go for 1 for setting up a synthetic division. I'll give another mark here for getting the 2 plus k equals 0, and also for having k is equal to minus 2. 1 mark for lifting the quotient from here, putting it down into this form here, and finally getting the roots. Okay, so x is equal to 1 and x is equal to 2. And again, this one here is going to be out of 4 marks.